Hello everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to my live letter from E3 2016 overview and thoughts video for Final Fantasy XIV. As I said, this is a live letter that was actually translated live for us for once. Whenever they do events in North America or Europe, they tend to do an actual live translation, whereas in this case, they didn't exactly go about that. We will be talking about this on State of the Realm with our special guest, Very Mary, this coming Friday, so if you're a fan of Mary's shorts, or you just want to hear more about the live letter, you should definitely come by Friday, 4 p.m. PDT. So I took notes for this just for the sake of being able to go right into the video, so let's get right into it. Now, this part at the top, Yoshi P has jet lag and Yoshi P's wearing a red shirt, Red Mage confirmed. It's a joke, okay? He never said Red Mage was confirmed. It's not actually confirmed in any way, shape, or form. Before everyone says, but Mr. Happy said, no. That's a joke. Okay, just making sure everybody understands that. All right, so patch 3.3. So they started off answering some questions about patch 3.3 and a general Q&A before moving into some some deep dungeon footage for the live letter. So there were a few questions regarding feedback from patch 3.3, including Weeping City, housing, and furnishings. So let's go into some of that. So they immediately spoke about new housing plots and how basically all the 700 plus plots that were added on some servers were bought up within 15 minutes. So they questioned Yoshi P on why do we still have this personal housing system being shared with the free company housing. He said it's because he wants people who play solo and people who play in groups to be able to experience the game equally. Obviously, you and I know it doesn't exactly work out that way with how the personal housing situation has gone, especially on the high pop servers. Now, remember, in patch 3.4, we are getting an apartment system in Ishgard. This should help with personal housing, but we don't really know the quality of those apartments. So I don't know how many people will particularly be happy about that system, but just keep in mind there are more houses coming in 3.4, just in the form of apartments in Ishgard. Now, in terms of reselling plots, which was the other big question, is it okay to be reselling plots? Does Square Enix have anything planned to stop that? They said it's absolutely not allowed. They don't have a system in place to stop it, but they said that if you see somebody advertising houses in the Party Finder, selling houses in the Party Finder, be sure to report them. They will have, they said they would be forced to refund Gil. I don't know if they meant the GM would refund the Gil for the house that the person tried to resell it, or if somebody bought like a resold house, they'll get their Gil refunded from the player who sold it to them. But they said that they'll force the players to return the land to an unused state, and it has to be bought through the normal means, and the Gil will be refunded. And then on top of that, for updates after 3.4, they still aren't ready to talk about things, but they are talking about increasing the item count for furnishings that are allowed inside. Yoshi P literally interrupted the translator and said, "I know," when as soon as they asked him about this. He didn't even need the translation. He's just like, "I know what he said, okay? I know enough English." So they said they are working on this. It's something that they are planning for after 3.4. However, they did also tease that the inventory that we have on our players will greatly increase come the expansion. So in 4.0, we will see a, quote, quite large, unquote, change in available inventory space, and also some changes to things like the armory chest and whatnot. So expect some big changes coming, although that's still quite a ways away. So don't start hoarding now. Wait till then to start hoarding. I should be talking to myself then. Anyway, then they also asked him about the ridiculous 2,000 Mentor roulette mount, the Estrope, and they said they have no intention of decreasing the amount of Mentor roulettes required for this. The main reason being is they don't want to make it some really achievable number like 500, and then you have people, really low quality mentors, or people who aren't even really interested in being a mentor, entering the roulettes just to try and get their mount and absolutely not being of any benefit to the players that they are supposed to be trying to assist. It's very similar to the reason that they made the amount of commendations you need for that fat chocobo with the crown. That's the similar reason, but that mount, the 3,000 commendations, a little bit easier to achieve. They want it to be a long-term goal, so they're not exactly sure if they're ever going to reduce it. Currently, they have no plans for that. Now they also I love that this question. There was no question, will you nerf the Weeping City of Mach? It was, will you make Weeping City of Mach savage? That was the exact question. And very bold question. Yoshi P immediately heard it. He's like, savage? And I thought it was great. So Yoshi P, before he even answered the question, he goes ahead and asks Matt Hilton. If you don't know who that is, that's Bayonne. He is the lead member of the community team for North America here on Final Fantasy XIV. And he asked Matt Hilton, what has the North American feedback been for the Weeping City of Mach? And Matt Hilton replied, majority of players love the difficulty and are asking to not nerf it. Matt Hilton, me and you are good buddies. That was the right answer. All right. I'm just making sure you're aware. You did the correct answer. I totally forgot that Hildebrand was going to pop up. You can't even hear him, is the funny thing. You can't even hear the Hildebrand, but I can. So I'll thank that person for a sub. I am recording this live on Twitch, by the way, in case you didn't know. So let me hide that so it doesn't pop up again. I heard it and it scared the shit out of me, so let me lower it on my headset. So, thank you, Matt Hilton. You said the right thing. I'm glad that that's the feedback, the general consensus of the feedback. So, Yoshi P actually said that the Weeping City of Mach isn't too difficult. He said that they made the Void Ark too easy. He said that that is the development team's fault, and they apologize for making the Void Ark too easy because the Weeping City is the kind of difficulty they want out of their 24-man raids. It's very akin to the Crystal Towers difficulty, especially in the first week, and they want to maintain that level of difficulty where players, at least on some level, should be communicating. So he apologized for Void Ark and said that they have no plans to nerf the Weeping City of Mach at any point in the near future. They are still monitoring it, though. The one mechanic they see people struggle with the most are the meteors during the Ozma fight. But Yoshi P literally said that the biggest problem with that is people just flat out don't communicate. If you just take a minute or two to ask your party what the plan is, you probably won't have any issue with that mechanic at all. So that was his recommendation. In the way that Sly says it, use your goddamn words. That's exactly what he asked people to do. And then when asked, again, when finally answering the question, will we get a Weeping City Savage? He said, maybe eventually when they have more development time available. It is in no way a promise that it will happen, but it's something he's not ruling out, especially if the community is asking for it so adamantly. So moving on from that, he also was commenting on the pace of the story this patch, because we've had a lot of story patches, especially back in A Realm Reborn, where they just throw in tons of like fetch quests and stuff just to kind of extend the length of the story quest. We haven't had that much this expansion, and I agree with the general consensus of this question that it was a good idea, that's a good amount of, that's a good pacing for the main story. They said they want to continue that kind of pacing. The only problem is when an expansion comes, they want to make sure people have the ability to gain extra experience points while just doing the story. So they tend to add a few quests like that just to make sure that it's kind of stretched out so they can, so people can level better. But they are looking for other ways around it, making side quests worth more experience, adding more side quests, adding other means of gaining experience points. So if you're someone who just wants to enjoy the story, they can keep the pacing similar to what it is now while not hindering the rate at which you gain experience points. So all very good answers, all very good questions up to this point. Easily some of the best questions we've had in a live letter in recent times. Now, the questions, I will warn you, some of them are a little less awesome moving forward. I'll just let you know that. But they're reasonable questions. They're things that have been asked before. They're asking for updates on them. Fair enough. They asked about stacking dragon skin maps because of I'll scroll down too far. They asked about stacking dragon skin maps because they're using the Aquapolis now, and groups are basically just finding loopholes, like mailing them to each other or stacking them in retainers or using one and then gathering another one. That is definitely not. Oh, it worked. Thank you, Ryusogen. So they said it's technically possible to do because the unhidden maps already use a system where they're stackable, but that all the other maps are actually gatherable maps. So they're part of a big branching system with that 18-hour lockout, and that entire system in some place includes the inability to stack them. So it's possible. It would take some time. It's a difficult change to make because it would have to affect the entire. They only want to make it affect the maps that spawn the Aquapolis. So that means digging into the system and kind of taking it out of this system and kind of making it its own thing. So it takes a little bit of work, but it's something that they'll consider because they understand how frustrating it must be to every two maps have to go back and forth between retainers and mailboxes and stuff like that. Then here are some of the questions. Like someone was asking, is it possible to use the abilities that you use in quests on certain mounts? Like for example, with the Vanus, the Sanua mount has the buffet ability, but then when you get the mount itself, it doesn't have the buffet ability. So he's just asking if they can make sure that all the mounts from now on have that sort of functionality if they have it during the quests. They said yes, but as for adding it to the old ones, they're doing it little by little. Is there a raid roulette plan? They actually said that they're in the planning stages. It's very early on, but that they want to sort of see what kind of resources this would take to do, how effective it would be. And in specific, when we're talking about a raid roulette, we're talking about the 24-man raid roulette. We're not on probably the normal mode raids. We're not talking about a savage roulette. I don't know if Coil would be included in this. I'd imagine not. I'd imagine the raid roulette would probably stick to current content, at least within the current expansion. But there was no definitive plan. They're still so early in the planning phases. At this point, it's just speculation. So they're thinking about it. Let's just go with that. They also asked in the case of, now I've actually attended one of these events. There are a lot of people who hold like fashion shows and things like that in their houses, and they basically have to take all the furnishings in their house and turn it into a stage. They have to use a ton of furnishings in order to accommodate for this. And with the limit as low as it is, which we discussed before, they asked if they could just make a stage furnishing, like just make different types of furnishings that act as stages. And Yoshi P said that should be an easy thing to do. Housing team, I hope you're watching, cause do it. So yeah, and I've attended a fashion show before. I forget which server it was on, but it was a great fashion show. There was a lot of quality put into it, and it was pretty funny. Hearing people comment back and forth as they were going up and down the friggin' thing. Also, I believe that Mr. Face followed me to that event, and I was scared for my life. So, Mr. Face, if you're watching, please don't not anymore. Okay. Anyway, moving on. So moving on, then also they also want people to add, you know how you have the statuses above their head, like mentor or active or away? They want to add a role-playing status, so you know when people are busy role-playing. On Gilgamesh, that would have a totally different meaning. I don't want to know anymore to be the ERP status. But either way, they said they'll look into it. UI team, get on it pretty much. Same as he said to the housing team or the furnishing team or whatever he calls them, basically. And then, so a little bit of feedback on the Make It Rain event. I love that event. I think it was a great thing to do with the Gold Saucer. So people asked if it would be possible to get like a rotating bonus inside the Gold Saucer. Like maybe this week, Triple Triad is worth bonus MGP. Maybe the next week, the mini Cact Pots are worth bonus MGP. Maybe the following week, Lords of Verminion, Lords of Verminion is worth bonus MGP. And he said, yeah, with the Make It Rain event, they actually literally designed an ability to do this so they could turn bonuses on or off. He said it's totally something they could do. He's not promising it right away, but it is doable. It's absolutely doable, he said. Then here's another question that makes sense from a role-playing / like somebody who records like Mary Shorts, somebody who records something like Mary Shorts when you want different poses and stuff like that. They asked for change pose while you're sleeping for people who may be restless sleepers. Their characters may be restless sleepers or something. And they said that'll be added in 3.35. So if you're someone who was looking forward to that, it's something they've commented on before. They also said that in this sentence, they said that Yoshi P literally said, because I think Matt Hilton said, yeah, it's like a month away, right? And Yoshi P said less than a month away. So 3.35, probably July 12th, just based on that comment alone. 3 weeks, 6 days is less than a month. So I'll go with that one. Anyway, also we're getting the right-click report feature in 3.4 so we can report RMT. So what basically it does is if enough people report a character for suspicious activity, then that character is automatically sent to the Mordion jail, where evidence can be gathered against them and they can just be kind of taken care of. Now, I'm not going to lie, Gilgamesh is a pretty populated server, and there are some people that dislike me. I have a lot of people that are friends with me there. I would not be surprised to see the system abused slightly to send someone as a joke to the Mordion jail. So please don't do that. Please. I'm so getting sent to the Mordion jail fucking day one of the patch. I can't get away from it. Ugh. All right, well, I'm screwed. Anyway, will Suttner be able to fly? That is the next question we have here. They said it's somewhere in their schedule. Maybe they'll push it up, but yeah, at some point. Maybe. Okay, and then we got a few more details about Deep Dungeon. Now, if you haven't already watched it, I'd go back a week or 2 weeks ago. I did a video regarding some interviews that were done on Deep Dungeon. A lot of this is regurgitation of that. It shows a little bit more of the user interface, maybe goes into a little bit more detail, but this is pretty much a complete rehashing of the Famitsu and 4Gamer interviews that happened a few weeks ago. So if you already read those, you don't even need to watch this part. So just a few quick little tidbits. Deep Dungeon will be the Palace of the Dead will be our first ever Deep Dungeon in patch 3.35. This is a randomly generated 50-floor dungeon at its launch where you will have your own leveling system, your own progression systems inside, and some of that progress will follow you outside, and we'll explain that a little bit later. You must be at least level 17 to enter. That is the only condition to unlock the Deep Dungeon. Once you are level 17, if you go to Quarry Mill, there will be an NPC who you can talk to who will allow you to queue into the Deep Dungeon either with a group, solo looking for other members, or solo to take on the whole thing by yourself. It's recommended to understand everything going in there that you've at least completed up to patch 2.4 story and have beaten Temtara hard mode the dungeon. For anyone saying that's not ETA in there, to you I say, come on, Really? At this point, is it not? Like, come on now. Anyway, moving on. So in this little screenshot right here, this is what it looks like when you go to queue in. You get two save files, basically. You have your own character progression, which is saved in the form of your Etherpool arm and your Etherpool armor, which is basically just its way of saying how strong your weapon and your armor are once they're inside. Remember, doesn't matter what item level gear you enter with. The gear that you enter with from the outside has no effect on how strong you are inside. It's all about the arm and the armor right here. And now you get two save files. This means that you can save progress with different groups if you want to, but you also have a personal progress that saves. So like if your highest floor you've ever reached is 50, you can choose to queue into a floors 40 to 50 group or a 41 to 50 group, or you can choose to queue into a group that starts all the way back from floor 1 to 10. You can't queue up anywhere in between. And on top of that, when you make a save file, it's locking in the people who you've gone in with before. So you will need that exact group if you want to go back in with that save file. Just so you know, in case you want to do it all in one sitting, floors 1 to 50 are supposed to take approximately 3 hours. That doesn't mean you'll be done with Deep Dungeon in 3 hours, since you can use it to level alternate jobs, to gain weapons, and theoretically armor. The interview made it seem like armor, but he didn't mention any armor here. So maybe it was just a mistranslation, maybe it was an early idea that didn't make it through because that interview technically was a month and a half ago. We'll see when it actually comes out. So you speak to the NPC, the finder will activate, and it'll take you inside. This is what the user interface looks like. I've done tons of videos on the user interface of the Deep Dungeon. Just as quick a recap: EXP, job, level, gear, which is your arm and your armor, your different items, the current item effects you're benefiting from. Then on the top right, you have the mini-map, which is randomly generated and will gradually expose itself as you explore the floor, and as well as keys and buffs. On top of that, you have your crossbar. In this case, you have your hotbar, which has abilities active only to the level that you've reached inside of the Deep Dungeon. This is the user interface of Deep Dungeon. When you enter, don't forget, when you enter, you start at level 1. You do not go in as a level 60. You go in as a level 1. Got it? It's really going to be mostly about the strength of your weapons and your armor once you're in there. But when you go in, you're only a level 1 character. So if you're a Lancer, have fun with the first 26 levels, because you're going to have to re-love Impulse Drive for a very long time. It doesn't take too long to get to max level. By the 40th floor, which is about 2 hours and 15 minutes into your progress, you should be level 60 inside there. On top of that, like I said, you can pick up items with various effects. Some of them reveal the map. Some of them reveal traps on the floor. Some of them let you turn into monsters, like you can turn into a succubus that does Void Fire 2. You can turn into a manticore, which one-shots any enemy it hits, and it's a very limited time buff, but there's lots of things in there. There's Phoenix Downs. You can find potions, and you can see how many different item slots there are. Like there's like what? That's 6, 12. There's 16 different item slots there. So I'm assuming there's 16 different items in total. So then let's see, what else do we have here? Now the difficulty of the first 50 floors is very low. We talked about this in the interview the other week. The first 100 floors are not actually all that difficult, because in this patch we're getting to floors 1 to 50. And that has multiple purposes, which we'll go over in a bit. 51 to 100 is where they're anticipating kind of the story to end, and then after the 100th floor are supposed to be the incredibly challenging floors. I don't want to say incredibly challenging, the very challenging floors. The floors that actually require a bit more thought process, a little bit more careful, the way you use things, the way you move around, the composition you bring in. For the first, 50 floors in this case, you could go with 4 DPS and probably be perfectly fine, which is supposed to be one of the benefits of the system, so you don't need to have a tank, a healer, 2 DPS. You're not locked into any one specific layout of characters. And that's great for characters who are level 17 going in, because they don't have to worry about getting a really long queue as a DPS, for an example. And then on top of that, we have, this is the device that will move you to the next floor. All 4 players are required to stand in it, and all 4 players need to be alive. So if anyone's dead, you'll have to find a way to resurrect them before you can move on to the next floor. Let's see. You can bring potions from the outside world, by the way. If you have max potions or high potions or whatever it is, you can use those in here as well. Phoenix Downs you can use in here as well. Now, every 10 floors there's a boss, and you can only save your progress once every 10 floors. So if you fail to kill a boss and everyone dies before you clear the 10th floor, then you get a little creepy cutscene where Edda comes in and you hear her music and you see her with the little Avir neck piece around, just hanging around her neck. It's kind of creepy. And then you have to start from where you last saved. So if you did 40 floors without saving and you wiped on the 40th floor and you didn't save since floor 1, guess what floor you're going back to? Yeah, save every 10 floors. You can also choose to progress afterwards if you get to the 10th floor. So let's see, what else do we have here? Other ways to resurrect. There's towers called Onks. If you stand near an Onk, it'll resurrect other players. If you use an Onk nearby dead players, then it will resurrect them. So let's see. There's also no lockout. You can enter as many times as you want, every day, any day of the week, 24/7. Never begging for a rain check. Rewards you can include. So you see in these screenshots how their weapons are kind of like glowing. So that's what your weapons look like when you're inside. If you upgrade your Ether Pool arm to a high enough amount, then you will actually be able to talk to the NPC before you enter, and he'll kind of recognize that you've progressed your weapon to a certain point, and you'll be able to actually turn it into a very powerful weapon. Now, according to the interview, the weapon will be relevant for content in patch 2. I'm sorry, in 3.35. So that means it's not going to be like an I-50 weapon just for glamour. It's a functional weapon that works at the current relevance of item level. In the interview from Famitsu, he specifically said it would not be as strong as augmented lore or anima weapons. So that puts it at a range of 230 to 235. But you also can get this weapon no matter what job you go in as. If you do Deep Dungeon as Scholar just all the time, and you collect this upgrade for your Ether Pool arm, and then you decide, hey, I want to get a Summoner book. You could do that. You can apply all those upgrades to the Summoner book. What's not known is, does that reset the progress on your weapon inside, or something else? We don't know. We don't know if what the limitation is on that. And upgrading that armor and that weapon is very, very important to when you're inside. They were very kind of unclear about the other floors after 50 in the live letter. In the interviews, they seemed a lot more, I guess, solid on what they wanted to say about this. This was very odd wording. I'm just going to read it to you how it was read to me. Floors 1 to 100 will likely be made accessible to all players, while 101 to 200 is still under consideration. That's very close to the wording they used. It's slightly paraphrased. They were more like, they're like, well, are we even going to save progress after floor 100? Do we just make it like a marathon type thing? So I don't know. It seemed like they hadn't really decided what floor 101 to 200 will really be made of, because at the point, once you hit floor 40, we're talking about level 60 content here. So 40 to 200, there has to be a gradual progression of the difficulty in there and a gradual progression of your weapon and your armor. So I guess the question just is, what the hell did that mean? Well, who knows? We'll find out. Maybe it'll be difficult 4-man content. Maybe it'll just be more confusing, more puzzles. Maybe it'll be bigger floors, which we already know the higher up you go, the bigger the floors get. We'll see. They weren't particularly clear about that detail. The experience you gain there, now keep in mind, like I said, you start as level 1 in there. You can go in as early as level 17 on the outside, but your leveling in there is completely separated. If you hit level 60 in Deep Dungeon, you are not a level 60 character when you leave. Whatever level you were when you enter, you're going to theoretically exit as. But a portion of the EXP you gain will leave the dungeon with you. We don't know how much. We don't know, because like I said, floors 1 to 50, they said would take probably about 3 hours. In the interview. So I'd imagine whatever amount of experience you normally gain doing dungeons or leaves or fates in 3 hours would be an acceptable amount to take out with you. It's just a question of if that's the amount. Is it affected by things like, the ring from the Hall of Novice? Is it affected by the novice circlet? Do those effects even matter at all? Like when you leave, is it literally just a flat portion? I'd imagine it's a flat portion, but you will be able to use this to level alternate classes. Just keep in mind, if you go in as a level 17 class, which obviously you are because there are no jobs at level 17, you're not going to become a job and learn job abilities in there. You're going to be a class the whole time. It's when you leave and you do your job quest. I am level 30. I got my Defiance. Awesome. Now I go back in. When I hit level 30 in there, I'm a warrior with Defiance. I'm not going to magically learn Deliverance when I hit level like 50. What is it, 52 for Deliverance? And then 54 is Felcleave, I think. So you're not going to magically learn those abilities without doing the quests on the outside world. So keep that in mind as well. And that means because there's no role requirement, you can go in as early as level 17. It's a great way to play with new friends who might be starting the game up. Hey, I just hit level 17. I've done a few dungeons. Do you want to do Deep Dungeon with me? Sure, great. Let's go in. Let's do this Deep Dungeon. You'll level. I'll get progress towards my whatever weapon, my currently relevant weapon that I'm still working on. And on top of that, no long DPS queues. So overall, it seems like a lot of systems that should, in theory, work for the auto-matching system, for the queuing with friends. The only thing that's a little concerning is the save feature, because it's very specific of the people that you queue in with, and you only get 2 save files. So we'll have to see if that'll probably end up hindering some people's ideas going forward. But also keep in mind, you can take out Deep Dungeon solo, and they are going to add the leaderboards for like people that make it to a certain floor in a certain amount of time. Solo, you'll want to probably upgrade your Ether Pool arm and armor as high as possible, and then try to solo it from level 1, because that power that comes with upgrading those items, even though you're a level 1 character, it stays with you. So you have to keep in mind how much that affects your character's strength. It's probably not wise to solo it right from the get-go. It's wiser to go in with a group, power yourself up, and then go back in and start trying to solo it. And then you can also work on your weapon progression and whatnot solo as well. The max amount of people you can go in with is indeed 4 people, for anyone who's wondering. I see that question popping up in the chat a little bit. And then that's for the most part. Now, keep in mind also, it's not in the duty finder. You have to go to the NPC and quarry mill. You know I'm not a big fan of this because I'm not a big fan of it in the gold saucer, but it is what it is. They've already decided on that plan. Going to quarry mill is a little bit less annoying because at least around level 17, you start running into leaves and fates you can do in that area as well. And it should hopefully be a fairly quick queue to get in. So, then they also had a few announcements. They had, there's a new Kochi doll plushie that comes with in-game Kate Sith ears. Those can be pre-ordered now. Why did I call him Kochi and then immediately call him Kate Sith? His name is Kochi, okay? It comes with in-game Kochi cat ears. Those pre-orders are available now. So if you're someone who wants to order the plushie or order it for the cat ears, you're good to go. So this, you probably just saw me scroll down to, so I'm not going to ignore it for too long. So Fan Festival last year came with some in-game items. It came with like a Moogle suit, and it came with something else. I don't even remember. The Moogle suit was the big thing. So this year, for each fan festival that you either physically attend or purchase an online ticket for, you are going to obtain a minion. Pretty normal, right? So if you either physically attend, or if you buy the virtual ticket for North America, you get a Riku minion. If you physically attend or buy a virtual ticket for the Japanese fan festival, you get a Lulu minion. And if you do that for the European one, you get a Yuna minion. So if you want all 3 and you don't plan on attending any of them, you just need to buy a stream ticket for each of them. Stream tickets are probably not going to be available for quite some time. The way the stream ticket worked last year is you literally just went to a fan festival Twitch channel and subscribe to it for $20, and they would send you the item code, and you would get access to any of the additional footage that came with that. So if you're thinking about buying all 3 of these, I'd recommend you at least watch the opening ceremony of all of the different fan festivals, because they will all have different information. They're not going to be exactly the same, and you'll get these minions along with it. On top of that, you also get, as they describe, a top secret glamour outfit. They won't tell us what it is. It's still in development. But you get to pick one. There's one male one and one female one. And you also get this to select one per online ticket. So if you get at least 2 of the 3 online tickets, you'll also get both of the glamour outfits. Or if you're attending 2 of the 3 fan festivals. So if you just watch all 3 of them, you'll get everything. It's $60, but last year it was $20 for the online ticket. We have no idea what the pricing will be this year. I'd imagine it'd be somewhat similar. But the physical tickets were $120 a person last year. And that's an important detail, because they also told us that ticket sales for the North American Fan Festival will begin next Tuesday on June 21st at noon Pacific time. That is only for current subscribers to the game. Not even current subscribers. Let me rephrase that. In order to buy a ticket next Tuesday, you must have been subscribed between May 1st and June 6th of 2016. If your sub was not on during that time and you just resubbed for 3.3, you will not get a pre-sale code to buy a ticket. If you want to go, you need to ask a friend who's going to buy you the ticket. And they flat out said that. They want to make sure that basically malicious like bots and different websites that basically, rush and buy all these tickets and then go sell them on eBay and shit like that. They basically said, no, if you're not a subscriber, you're not buying tickets. So we're cutting that shit out. We're not dealing with that. So keep that in mind. They said they'll also have more tickets available this year than last year to also help counteract the sheer number of tickets people will buy, because a lot of people, as you can see, you can buy a maximum of 4 tickets. So keep that in mind. If you haven't been subbed since that time, you will not get a pre-sale code. If you have been subbed during those times, expect a pre-sale code sometime before next Tuesday for North America only. We don't know about Europe. We don't know about Japan yet. So if you're going to either of those, you need to still be on the lookout. They also talked about the Mog slippers. They had Mog slippers on the desk, making them available for purchase as a merchandise item. They're still kind of in the developmental process. So physical Moogle slippers from the Moogle Beast Tribe quests may become available soon. If you're actually going, there's no reason to buy a stream ticket unless you also want to. I don't know. There's no reason. I'm sure someone will find a reason. Maybe because you're so impatient that you want both of your top secret glamour outfits right meow. Okay, you want them right meow. So some people are saying they got their pre-sale codes already. Let me make it so it's not pure white on the screen. Let me see if I got mine yet. Let's see. Let's go to my email. Let's see. I don't think I got mine yet. Let's see. Is it here? Is it here? It's not even loading. There you go. No, is it here? No, I didn't get mine yet, but sometime before next week, you'll probably get it. So just be on the lookout. I know I will be. Okay, yeah, quite a few people are saying they got theirs ready. Just be on the lookout. I wouldn't be too worried. Also, be sure to check your spam, which I'm doing right now. No, okay, no, I didn't get it. I just want to make sure. I did not get it. Okay, all right. But anyway, so that is the live letter from E3 2016. Let me know what you thought, and are you looking forward to, in less than 4 weeks, or in less than a month, as they said, Deep Dungeon in patch 3.35. Don't forget, Feast Season 2 will also be beginning in 3.35, and Feast Season 1 will be ending. So if you're someone competing for one of those top spots in the Feast, or at least top 100, you better get to it now, if you can get a queue, because Shatter is pretty popular right now. Good luck. But anyway, I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching this one. I'm going to also go back to my Twitch stream. I know those of you who are watching on Twitch, this is the part where you think, oh, he's ending the Twitch stream. I'm going to peace out. No, this is the end of my YouTube recording. So I'm going to continue the Twitch stream at least for a few more minutes, and then we're going to wrap things up there as well. But anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Until then, take care.